The superscription marks this as a psalm of David, set to stringed instruments. The historical moment is not pinned to a single event, but the language points to a man who is far from the life he once knew. David writes from a distance, not just physical distance, but the distance that makes a man feel cut off from everything that once held him steady. Hear my cry, O God, attend unto my prayer. Psalm 61, verse 1. David opens with two requests that are not identical. A cry is raw, unformed, the sound that breaks out of a man before words arrive. A prayer is more deliberate, shaped, and presented before God with intention. David brings both. He does not wait until his thoughts are organized before calling on God. The cry goes up first. Attend unto my prayer adds the request that God lean in and listen closely. David wants God's full attention, not a distracted acknowledgement. This is not a casual conversation. David is pressing into God with everything he has. He does not solve his own problems. David cries, prays, and brings his needs to God. From the end of the earth will I cry unto thee when my heart is overwhelmed. Lead me to the rock that is higher than I. Psalm 61, verse 2. The end of the earth is not a precise geographic location. It is a description of how far David is from everything that once defined his life. Jerusalem, the ark, the place of worship, the throne, his people. All of it sits at an impossible distance. David is at the edge of his world, and from that edge he still cries to God. When my heart is overwhelmed, David is describing his condition. His strength is spent. His resources are gone. He is not a warrior standing tall on the battlefield. He is a man at the end of himself, and from that place he asks to be led to the rock, which implies David can still move. David puts one foot in front of the other, but needs God's direction. The rock that is higher than I is the critical phrase. David is not asking for a rock he can climb on his own. He needs one that rises above his own reach, above his own capacity to hold himself up. God is that rock. David is asking for God. For thou hast been a shelter for me and a strong tower from the enemy. Psalm 61, verse 3. David grounds his cry in experience. God has already proven what he is. A shelter is not a permanent dwelling, but a covering that protects when exposure threatens. David has stood in that covering before. He knows what it feels like to be shielded by God when enemies close in. The phrase, a strong tower from the enemy, adds the image of fortification. A tower gives both protection and a vantage point. The enemy cannot breach it, and the man inside can see what approaches. God has functioned as David's strong tower in the past. David's confidence in verse 2 that God will lead him to the rock rests on the evidence of verse 3. God has been a shelter and tower to him before. History is the ground on which David stands when he cries for God's help.